All right, are you ready for more talk about intervals? Intervals are complex. There's a lot to teach about intervals. So far you understand the 5 qualities of intervals. We have possible major, minor, perfect, augmented, and diminished intervals. You also have learned about the intervals that make up a major scale, and that we have possibility of perfect intervals and major intervals in a major scale. So I want you now to be able to take any pitch that you are given and to create any interval above that pitch. So from 1 to 8, and using major, minor, perfect, augmented, and diminished. So think about all those possibilities. Let's try, for example, starting on, we'll use C as an example just to start easy. And I want to be able, and I need to remember the relationship between the qualities of intervals. So if we start with a major interval and we make it larger, we have augmented. If we make it smaller, we have minor. If we make it even smaller, we have diminished. And then we can remember that our perfect interval takes the place of major and minor, and it can be enlarged to be augmented or shrunk to be diminished. So keep this in mind. This is a really important formula as we're working through our intervals. So if I take the pitch C and I want to do a minor second, a major second, a minor third, a major third, I want to see if I can do all the possible intervals just from the pitch C. Well, I know that in the major scale, C to D would be the major interval. So to go from major to minor, I need to shrink that by a half a step. So I will go from my major second to a minor second, C to D flat. Easy thing to remember about the difference between major and minor seconds are that minor seconds are half steps, major seconds are whole steps. So you can spot those quickly and easily. So now I need a third. C to E is part of the major scale. That would be my major third. So C to E flat would be taking our major interval to minor. I lower the top note by a half step. Let's try our perfect fourth. C to F would be a perfect fourth because the F is found in the major scale. Let's try an augmented fourth. Raise the top note by a half step. That would be going from our perfect interval to augmented. Let's try a diminished fourth. Come back here. C to F is our perfect fourth. I am going to shrink that by a half a step by adding an F flat. It's kind of a strange spelling if you consider C to F is our perfect fourth. C to F flat. When we play it, it just looks like simply C to E, but you will sometimes see those enharmonic notes written in music. Okay. Let's try just a couple more. If I have my perfect fifth, for example. Actually, let's skip to the major sixth, because the perfect fifth would work exactly like the perfect fourth. Major sixth is C to A. I don't need any sharps or flats because there's nothing in that key signature. But what if I need to create a minor sixth? I just shrink that interval by a half step. How about I want to create an augmented sixth? And I have C to A. I know that to go from major to augmented, I just need to enlarge my interval by a half step, so I can take this A and put a sharp on it, and I've just created an augmented sixth. What you'll start to see about intervals is that some intervals look the same as others. Okay, let me explain. An augmented sixth looks a lot like a seventh. C to B flat would be a seventh. Again, it's a seventh because from C to B in the alphabet, in the musical alphabet, 7 letters apart. So intervals can look the same on the keyboard, but be spelled differently in the music. And that's another kind of complex thing about intervals. So hopefully that helps you to see how you can write any possible interval above any possible note. But keep in mind, again, that it's so important for you to understand key signatures because everything's easy in the key of C. But if we were working, for example, in the key of A, and we needed to write a major seventh and a minor seventh, for example, and a diminished seventh, we need to understand the sharps that are in the key of A so that we know where our major seventh interval is. So in the key of A we have 3 sharps. We have F, C, and G. I'm going to count up 7 notes from A, which would be G. A to G, I need to remember, to create a major interval, I need to use the key signature. I've just now created a major seventh, A to G sharp. Then it's easy to change that to minor using our formula. Major to minor, I lower the top note by a half step, which would just be G natural. And then to create a diminished seventh, I will still use my G. I will go from minor to diminished and shrink it 1 more half step by creating, and then I will include a G flat. So anytime you're writing an interval, you've got to start by knowing the key signature and knowing the major interval, and then you can modify that interval however you are asked to do so. All right, I think by now you should have a pretty good handle on intervals, so practice by yourself.